The mobile future Microsoft saw first and still lost. They didn't miss the smartphone revolution. They arrived early, and that's exactly why they lost. Before the iPhone, before Android, before apps became something normal people talked about, Microsoft already had a mobile operating system. Millions of devices shipped, governments used it, corporations standardized on it, and yet, when the phone era actually arrived, Microsoft was erased from it.
And we are calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone.
This isn't the story of being too late. It's the story of learning the wrong lesson from winning too big. In the late 1990s, Microsoft was unbeatable. Windows ran the world. Office owned productivity. The PC was the center of modern life, and Microsoft sat at its core. So when the next wave of computing started to appear, Microsoft did exactly what you'd expect. They didn't panic, they didn't dismiss it, they didn't laugh it off. They prepared, quietly, systematically, confidently. Because to Microsoft, mobile computing wasn't a revolution, it was just the PC made smaller. The first real attempt was Windows CE, a stripped-down operating system designed for devices with smaller screens, limited memory, and less power. Not just phones, but PDAs, handheld computers, industrial devices. This wasn't a side project. Microsoft believed computing would escape the desk and follow people everywhere. And they were right. Emails on the go, calendars in your pocket, documents synced across devices. It all sounds obvious now, but back then, it was futuristic, and Microsoft was early. Soon, Windows CE evolved into Pocket PC, then Windows Mobile. These weren't toys. They powered phones from HTC, Motorola, Samsung, Dell. They showed up in briefcases, not jeans pockets. They were sold to professionals, not teenagers. And that was the first invisible mistake. Microsoft didn't build for desire, they built for productivity. To Microsoft, the mobile future looked like this: a smaller Windows, a familiar interface, a stylus instead of a mouse, menus, file systems, settings. Because Windows had taught them a lesson they never questioned. If people learn your system once, they'll stay with you forever. That belief built an empire, and it would later destroy their mobile future. Windows Mobile didn't fail immediately. In fact, it succeeded in the world Microsoft understood. Corporate IT loved it. It synced with Exchange. It felt controllable, safe, familiar. Executives could read email on airplanes. Sales teams could update spreadsheets in taxis. From Microsoft's perspective, everything was going according to plan. They weren't behind, they were ahead. But something was quietly changing, not in boardrooms, not in IT departments, not in corporate procurement meetings. It was changing in people. Phones were no longer becoming computers. Computers were becoming personal, and Microsoft didn't see the difference. In 2007, the iPhone arrived. No stylus, no file system, no desktop, no start menu, no right-click logic, just a screen, your finger, and software that felt alive. It wasn't powerful in the way Microsoft defined power, but it was intuitive, and intuitive was about to matter more than control. Microsoft's reaction wasn't panic, it was confusion, because by every traditional metric, the iPhone looked wrong. No physical keyboard, no enterprise security story, no copy-paste, no multitasking. From a Windows mindset, it looked incomplete, a toy. This is the core tragedy. Microsoft didn't underestimate the phone. They misjudged the user. Windows Mobile assumed users were trained. The iPhone assumed users were human. One expected learning, the other removed friction. And friction was the real enemy.
Touch us with our fingers, and we have invented a new technology called multi-touch.
Microsoft tried to respond. They redesigned. They simplified, they modernized. Eventually, they scrapped everything and started again. Windows Phone. This time, they did something bold. They didn't copy iOS, they didn't copy Android. They reinvented the interface entirely. Live tiles, motion, typography, information at a glance. In many ways, Windows Phone was brilliant. Too brilliant. Too late. By then, the world had already decided. Developers went where users went where apps were, and ecosystems hardened fast. Microsoft missed the only window that mattered, not the technology window, the emotional one. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Microsoft had the hardest problem solved early. They had distribution, partners, manufacturers, developers, capital. What they didn't have anymore was humility. Winning the PC era taught Microsoft a dangerous lesson, that platforms win by control, that compatibility beats beauty, that power users define markets. But phones weren't PCs. They were intimate, always with you, touched hundreds of times a day. People didn't want control, they wanted delight. Microsoft didn't lose mobile because they lacked innovation. They lost because they trusted their past success more than the future in front of them. Think about how cruel that is. They saw mobile coming, they invested early, they shipped real products, they were inside pockets years before the iPhone, and still, they became irrelevant. This is why being early can be more dangerous than being late. Early success locks in assumptions. It trains organizations to defend the wrong ideas. It rewards the wrong metrics. Microsoft optimized mobile for the world that no longer existed. Eventually, the retreat was quiet. Windows Phone faded, partners left, developers stopped caring, users moved on. No dramatic collapse, no single fatal mistake, just silence. Today, Microsoft dominates again. Cloud, enterprise, AI. They didn't disappear, but they never recovered the phone, and they never will, because platforms don't give second chances. The mobile future didn't reject Microsoft, it simply moved past them. And that's the lesson that matters. You can see the future first and still lose it if you bring yesterday's thinking with you. Being early isn't enough. Being right isn't enough. Even being powerful isn't enough. Timing without humility is just confidence heading in the wrong direction. And sometimes the deal that almost killed you is also the deal that taught you the wrong lesson for what came next. That wasn't a failure of technology, it was a failure of imagination. And it's happening again, just in different forms, different industries, different names. But the pattern never changes, because the future doesn't reward who arrives first, it rewards who arrives ready to forget everything that made them win last time.